$1,000 into these 3 stocks could surpass your full-time job. Not a financial advisor, but these stocks, I'll give them to you right now. Lemonade, ticker symbol LMND. Gold, the gold ETF, ticker symbol GLD. And Path, ticker symbol PATH. UiPath are setting up right now. Lemonade is an insurance tech company, so they do marketing automation to connect customers with insurers. Gold is gold, so gold is a store of safe value. Safe haven. On the back of FOMC, we got the 25 basis points cut as expected. Market whipsawed a little bit, held up, so that's all good. And UiPath is a recent IPO that has a lot of AI connections. So let's jump into these 3 tickers and what the market's doing as a whole. Now is a very important time heading into the end of the year. There will be some tax loss harvesting, but we're not there yet. So no need to be a bear when the market's going up.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 So here is Reddit, which I did mention. It's actually also interesting over this left side peak. But I don't want to talk about it because, don't worry, I won't talk about this for long, but it sort of is basing. So it's not really the most beautiful setup for new buyers. If you're in from earlier, this is obviously ideal, but I'm not sure that was particularly predictable. Maybe this little inside day was. Of course, this was sort of a flag opportunity as well. But right now, it's hard to say. Lemonade, though, is in the conversation. And this one's tricky. We'll do some fundamentals, really just to humor everybody. But don't worry, we'll look at the charts as well. So Lemonade probably looks the best. Gold is an ETF, so that's not even going to show up here. So actually what I'll just do here. Oh no, it is. Okay. So it's the gold trust. There's other ways to buy gold, obviously through your computer. This one I think is, well, it's definitely the most liquid, and it also looks, well, it tracks gold futures the best. So we'll look at that. And then also Path is this recent IPO. This is Lemonade. They're in the property and casualty insurance bucket. Those have been looked at favorably by long-term investors. I'm not saying that this is a long-term investment. It's still basically a startup, even though it's a multi-billion-dollar company. Those can go hand in hand for sure in recent years. This is Path. They help with tools to deploy AI automations. So they're a software company serving Fortune 500 companies. And they probably have some sort of GUI. They have UI in their name. Graphical user interface is GUI. And they're basically providing a layer between applications and the GPUs. So they also are offering applications as well. The build, manage, run, measure, automation. So that can be logs for basically all these white collar workers. If you have a data warehouse, you can figure out what people are working on. You can visualize the data that gets collected through these $1 million surveys that these big Fortune 500 companies do. But all you really need to know is that they recently had earnings. They're holding up. Their earnings per share beat. And we can look at the guidance. We can look at the revenue beat and the verticals that they had a beat in revenue. But most notably is there was a move up after earnings at close, and we're holding right over that close. So it looks like this is a pretty favorable spot to grab some path. It's a little bit, it's not perfect. So let's look at this level right here. So this is going to get nitty gritty. I'm just warning you. 1850 is that level. You can see that right here, just about here. And, over here, the levels aren't going to be held perfectly. But if we look in the last day or so, it came down, it tested slightly below that level, it broke down below pre-market, and now it looks like it's sort of holding. So you can risk 20 cents to make $2 pretty clearly here. Even though it's a slow moving stock, well, this is not right, but if we look over here, moving 7% on a daily basis, and that takes into account these big moves. If we look back over here, these moves of 2%, 3% are kind of what you expect this stock to do. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth jumping in a stock that moves a few percent a day? Or is there a better vehicle for your money that's also safer, right? So a faster vehicle that's safer. And the jury's sort of out on that one. I mean, if we look at some other ones, Guardian Health moves 5% a day, over the last 10 days anyway, which includes these big moves. This is like 10%. So sometimes these earnings reactions look safe, right? If you get in, this is the high volume day. It's actually here. So this is an after hours, and then this is the close. It held that level. It stayed up. And if you bought here, you had to wait a full month to get 20% or more, but you're also not dealing with anything unsafe. So these are the trade-offs you make. There are, of course, faster moving stocks, but let's say you jump in here, you're immediately down 20, 30%. That's obviously not that interesting. This is this robotics stock. KTTA is I get these confused actually. Yeah, KTTA is the biotech stock that recently has been moving significantly. And it's great. It had a big move, but it's just going sideways. So you don't want to be stuck in this either, especially as liquidity dried up. So I'm not saying there's no good options. I'm giving you the good options. I think Path is a good option. I'm just trying to compare and contrast to where else it might seem like a good idea to put your money. And NVIDIA is not doing anything. So that's not that interesting. Even if you were able to get in here, you got less than 10%. AMD also not super interesting, trailing off last few days. So there have been big moves. There was GSAT recently as a flag that's still holding up. There was Frog as a flag, still holding up. And there was the big one, GEV, recently. But this wasn't easy. It looks pretty easy now, but I mean, it looked like it might turn up before earnings. And then it looks like it, well, here as well, this was a higher low that failed. So there were a couple spots here. This was months ago, but this thing really got wrecked by the market. You can see the market in the background. That was the end of September. We had a few days down, and then, of course, 10/10 day was horrible for the markets. So earnings didn't help that either. So it wasn't until the markets moved up that this started to go up. So that's kind of the backdrop for how we end up with a stock like Path. That I'm not hating on this company. There's a clear level up here as well to buy above, but it is a little bit not exciting, right? Buying an earnings reaction that drifts up, drifts down, and now it's sort of like the first retest of this high volume. There's the high volume close. There's the close. So that's where high volume close comes from. Now, I'll get to Lemonade. I'll get to gold as well. But I do think that you just have to wait for these candles to close. Everyone's talking about PL right now. PL having earnings, but also this is in the same sort of SpaceX, bucket. So they're launching satellites, and all the space companies are going crazy. ASTS continuing up after this level off. So the SpaceX going public in their multi-trillion or whatever trillion IPO only happened within the past few days. So that's why DXYZ really rocketed the past few days. Even Lunar, the laggard, is moving up. Maybe there was some rumors that led that move to happen earlier. I mean, GSAT as well. But these were not super, super predictable. Besides GSAT, looked great. And PL, you have to see this close. I mean, it's so strong, it could come back all the way to 16.5 here. So you can't just buy, in my opinion, super strong earnings reactions right after open. I mean, maybe that's your thing. Maybe this one will work great. It looks super strong. But it's not always a prescription for greatness to see an earnings reaction like that. Microsoft might not be the best example just because it didn't look as strong. But in general, it just makes things easier if you let an earnings candle close. We might be able to see one that's a little bit of a better example here. But in this Q3, there's just been some rough earnings in general. NVIDIA, let's see if that can give a little more insight here. Kind of, I mean, if you do get in after hours, right after that earnings, and it looks super strong. If you remember at the time, everyone thought, oh, NVIDIA earnings blew out, the market's going to rip. This was not long ago, less than a month ago, and then it just dumped the next day. So this was November 19th. And if we look at the SPY on November 19th, that was a pretty important moment. And then it just ripped down the next day. Of course, we ripped right back up. But it just goes to show the market is not moving directly on NVIDIA. NVIDIA going down the last few days. I know up here. And the market as a whole down last few days. So it definitely plays a role. But most recently, if we just look super granular here, we'll do a 5-day chart or even 10 days. I know this is probably hurting people's brains watching this, but the last few days, this went up, down, a little down, and then down here. And if we look at the market, not at all the same, right? So this is purely FOMC, the 25 basis point cut was expected, didn't move the market much. It happened at 2 p.m. So that's the rip. It did move initially, but gave it all back and then coming back. So what happened here was Oracle at earnings, and Oracle dragged the whole market down. So we really have to be careful to, and I know this is boring, but look at rankings of stocks based on market cap and how they affect the market rather than the story stocks. Because NVIDIA is the biggest stock. It's a $4 trillion market cap. But look how high Oracle is here. It's somehow I'm not seeing it on this list, which is making me go crazy. But it's within the top 10 market caps in the world. I know Oracle is. And it literally dragged down the market. So 99% of the time it's on this list. I think I might have a little bit of a average daily range filter that is filtering the stock out right now. But look at the market cap for Oracle. Everyone's been hating on Oracle because their margin was not so great on their GPUs. Yeah, it's a $500 million company, so it should be right here. It's big enough where it's a boring company that can completely affect the entire market, which includes your positions. You know, if you're in a Reddit, it definitely whipsawed Reddit down, you know? So you don't need me to tell you that it's not easy to predict or see what's going to happen in the market. But what I can do is give you ideas. And I think Lemonade is definitely a great idea. It's been for a few days, it's been playing with people. But similar to GSAT and similar to Frog, it's got a flag, right? And these are big companies, so these flags actually break out. And then if we look at a 10-day chart, you know, you could look at the daily chart and say, when was this interesting? It's definitely interesting here, right? Super tight day here. Although you never totally want to buy after 4 green days in a row, so I don't know about that. But this day was definitely exciting, and so was the yesterday. But what happened here was, you know, this was fine. Definitely played along. But yesterday, this was at 12 o'clock, and this got yanked down, which is completely unrelated to the market. Nothing happened here. So this will play with you. This is why you have to have stops, and it doesn't look like much. But on a percentage basis, 79 to 74, that's definitely a few percent or more, depending on where you're able to get out, as much as 6%, which is pretty rough. So, you know, 500K position, well, 500K portfolio, 50K position, 5% down. That is $2,500 loss right there yesterday. So maybe this one you could have expected that this would not break out, but this one definitely played with folks a little bit. And today as well played with folks a little bit, but in a different way. Everyone talks about, and you bear with me. Let me know in the comments if you like these detailed explanations of the price action. But by the opening range break, it's like, great, you did. You got dumped on. And depending on how quickly you got in, you know, it's tempting to wait for confirmation, right? It's just such a fine line. It's like, it's going up, but I don't know, it reverse. Oh, here's confirmation. I'll get in here. And then all of a sudden, a break-even stop. Well, a break-even stop got hit here. So you would have actually stopped out. So it's not easy, but it looks strong today. We'll see what happens. That's Lemonade. As far as gold, gold futures is what we're basically looking at trade here, right? And there's a level of price agreement. It's above this rejection here, 4220, 4200, whatever. And then it held that as support, it looks like. So still had some fake outs though. This is not the prettiest way to look at a chart because you can't see after hours because it's futures, it trades all the time. But what you can see is this was 2 p.m. yesterday, so that was the FOMC rip and then the Oracle fall. So it's reverberating around the market, except now gold is going up. And then if we look at the SPY, you know, we are rebounding, but initially we sold off. So gold itself didn't really sell off. It just sort of moved up. Now, is it going to continue to dislocate from the market? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm just saying that it's at a favorable spot. And it seems like today might be the day. You know, it really has to get over this 392. You know, it rejected here 392, just about 391. But if you wait for that to happen, you're kind of waiting for the volume already to come in. You know, with GEV, do you want to get on this day, which is not much volume, or do you want to get on this day, right, which it's already coming back and could stop some people out depending on when they got in. So I like the cheat setups personally to get in a little bit early. And this last stock we've talked about pretty extensively, Path. We'll see if it plays with people or what, but the high volume close level being right here at, I don't know the exact number, but maybe 18.5 is what I've been using as a number. It did play with folks a little bit here, you know, testing 18.30 a little below and then moving up. This is significant. This is 7% or more before rolling over. So wouldn't have gotten your 10% here. This is not 10, but it's giving another test here, and it tested yesterday below 18.50 in after hours and a little bit in regular hours too. So we'll see what happens. You know, it doesn't look super strong here, but you can also look at that as you could take a position here, risk low of day, and you're only risking 20 cents to look for a move of $2 or more. So this is going to be heavily dependent on the market. I'm not here to tell you exactly what it's going to do one way or the other, but a little bit of relative weakness to the market right now. So there's a clear level, clear risk reward, probably 20% chance of this working. But if it does work, the risk reward could be more than 1 to 10, which means that 20% chance, 1 to 5, 1 in 5, gets paid back more than double. In my opinion, those are the odds I'm putting on that. And as far as what's doing what, there are some big moves to look at. I don't really look at stocks as far as what moved recently because, for example, this is a pharma company, right? This is probably fundamental news that might be a game-changing event, but you really have to know what you're looking at for that. PLAB is an earnings company, so there is a high volume close here to play off of if this is in your wheelhouse. This is a semi stock. And then Warby Parker is a retail stock that's had a big move already. Can't really play this, in my opinion. It's up too much, but this is a way basically to see what's been moving recently. Warner Brothers on the Netflix acquisition, another pharma couple stocks, you know, banks, regional banks are moving significantly, KRE, but earnings, stocks, earnings reactions. This is basically how to scan based on what's moving. So that's one kind of scan that could work for you. These optical companies you don't want to touch. And then if you just look at, well, the watch list you have, which I think is a little bit more instructive rather than just what's moved a lot recently. The memory names are definitely interesting. And the top watch list watch is, for me, SanDisk. So that's a lot of names for you. The main ones: Lemonade, ticker symbol LMND, Gold, ticker symbol GLD, that's an ETF, and Path, ticker symbol PATH, UiPath. If you like getting these ideas, hit that like button. If you want a free course on how to find the next NVIDIA without gambling on startups, hit that subscribe. And if you want to join the Discord and see these decisions made in real time, as well as the analysis in live recordings, head over to stockscommunity.com. Give that a shot.
Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.